Hi, this is Sue Greenwald with Awakened Stories, here today with a Jedi friend, Kimberly Kay. Hey, Kimberly, how are you?
Hey Sue, I'm doing awesome. How are you?
Awesome, I'm doing good. So today we're going to do a little bit of the Becoming Awakened series, talking about Kimberly's upbringing and really what brought her from point A to where we are now, point Z, working with King Smarty and helping humanity. All right, so Kimberly's going to tell us a few of her stories, and I'm going to intervene and ask questions. She has a super interesting life. I'm sure you're going to love this. Not too
Yep,
much pressure, right?
not too much pressure. Not at all.
So
So,
one thing about Kimberly is she is very shy and wants to keep her business to herself. So I've been kind of pounding at her to get this out for years. So I'm really excited. All right. So tell us about your background, like your childhood, your upbringing, your religious upbringing. Like, how did you become intuitive or spiritual and like start walking the path that you've walked?
so, my upbringing was it was a lot. There
Yeah.
was a lot that happened from when I was little until up until a few years ago. I
Yeah.
mean, I've run the gamut of like abusive relationships, and one of the things that happened when I was little was an attempted kidnapping.
Whoa.
And that happened when I was around 8, 8 or 9 years old. And I used to ride my bike along these walking trails that they had all over the community. And this certain section of it ran parallel with the highway. It was a very busy, it was
Yeah.
really a freeway.
Yeah.
And then behind it was a 7-Eleven that people would, go in and out of all the time. I mean, it was 7-Eleven. It was the 90s. Everybody was at 7-Eleven.
Right.
But that particular day, I was taking a rest with my bike and just sitting on the ground, bouncing my bouncy ball, having a good old time, being in Kimberly land where I
Yeah.
like to be. And this guy walks by, and I was like, oh, it just gave me the creeps. And in the midst of that, you also get that anxiety feeling that starts to like fill up in your stomach, right? Like those not good butterflies that something's wrong. Well, I pretty much ignored that and I just went back to bouncing my bouncy ball. And I think there was a little voice in the back of my head that was like, maybe you should listen to that. And I was pushing it away. And I noticed that and he was an adult. He was a, older adult, probably in his 30s, around that area, that he had gone into the 7-Eleven. And I was like, cool, I'm good. Well, then I noticed that he was coming back out of the 7-Eleven and he was coming back towards me down this trail. And the little vibrations, if you want to call it, started getting like more chittery. Like,
Yeah.
you need to move.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I had dropped my bouncy ball, so I was trying to go get it. And then I was gonna get on my bike, and I just noticed him getting closer and closer. And as he does, I'm starting to get like it's pronounced. Like, you need to get out of here. So I was getting my bike up, I'm fumbling around, and because I'm full of anxiety,
Yeah.
like I'm
Yeah.
dropping things and I'm kind of starting to like internally freak out, right? And then I noticed that he's coming faster. Like, he picked up his pace towards me, and I'm like, okay, I gotta get on this bike and I gotta get out of here. And as I finally get to the point where I'm getting on the bike and I'm about to take off, and he's running towards me. And he's got his hand outstretched. And I look back and I'm trying to get forward, and he had almost grabbed the back of my seat. And I just missed it, right? Like, he just missed me. But instead of him falling forward like you would think, where someone's coming at that speed and reaching forward, he was more being like pushed back away from me. And
Oh,
I just took off.
about how old were you when this happened?
I was around 8 or 9.
Okay. So you had a very strong warning feeling that this guy was, he was nefarious. He was up to no
Yep.
good. You felt it, but again, you're a kid and you're kind of like in your own world. You're not really listening until you did. And then
Until I did.
you move fast. But what's interesting is that he fell backward and not forward.
Yeah.
So he's
It was very
running
interesting.
towards you with his arm outstretched and he fell backward.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep, because he was going to like reach the back of my seat to
Yeah.
pull me back.
Yeah.
Nope.
Wow. So it feels like daddy was protecting you then and maybe pushed him back in some way, or the
Yes, it
guardian angels or someone.
was
Very
someone.
interesting. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's like the more I look back on now, the more I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
look at all those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because back then, of course, you're a child. You don't know what intuition is, or like I call this the red flag feeling when you get that anxiety and you're like, okay, that person isn't good. We have that all the time. But again, we back then, especially, we didn't have a label for it. We didn't really, talk about it. We didn't believe it was true. But it's so interesting that you had such a vivid experience. Yeah, you were
Yep.
saved. Yeah,
Yep. And we weren't really religious
yeah,
growing up
yeah,
either.
yeah.
Like, I had been in and out of maybe a handful of churches growing up, and a lot of times as I was starting to get older, I was actually asking my mom to take me to church because I wanted to find Jesus. I wanted to, know what all
Right.
the hubbub was about and all
Yeah,
that good stuff.
yeah,
But every time I stepped foot in one, it was like, he's not here.
yeah. Wow, interesting. So you just had a really strong knowing your whole life.
It feels like it.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
feels like it.
yeah. So what happened after the attempted kidnapping? What other story do you want to tell us? Like that's so
Well,
interesting to me.
yeah, that one I'm sure people can notice. I still get like a twinge of anxiety when
Mm,
I go and talk about that one because it's
right.
like, dang,
Yeah,
can't believe that happened. But and I'm so grateful that Daddy and the angels were there
yeah,
protecting me
yeah,
from that. And another instance that I can that's like really pronounced for me is my brother, his girlfriend, and we should have been seriously injured. I was probably, I want to say around like 12 or 13 because I wasn't driving yet, and my parents divorced when I was younger. So my
okay.
brother was driving me from my dad's house back to my mom's house to take me home. And it was snowing, it had been really cold, but the roads looked fine. And he's getting on the freeway, and as he's going up the on-ramp, we hit a patch of black ice.
Okay.
And the SUV that my brother was driving started to spin across the freeway. And it's a four-lane freeway, and we got hit by a semi truck, like head on. The entire front end of that vehicle was gone. It like smashed in, gone. And we walked away without really any scratches or anything.
So you're telling me you hit ice and you spun around, 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 one across the median
Yep.
into the other lane and got hit by a tractor trailer
Yes, ma'am.
and
Yes,
lived.
ma'am.
Oh my
And lived.
God.
Yeah, because what happened was we were spinning across the freeway,
Yeah,
and it had the concrete barrier,
yeah,
right, in between whichever way you were going,
yeah.
north, south. And we hit that barrier and we bounced off. And then that's when the semi truck hit us. So we bounced into the fast lane. And then that semi truck was in the fast lane and just whoosh, right
Wow.
into the truck.
And you're all now tell me about your brother and his girlfriend. Were they okay? I mean, you're
Yep.
obviously you didn't get injured. Any of you
Nope.
injured?
Nope. None of us were injured. And when you looked at that truck and you see that front end was smashed in all the way, the engine should have come through into the cab of the vehicle, and it didn't.
That is a miracle.
It is.
That's a miracle.
It
Yeah.
is.
That, and at the time that happened, you know how you get that adrenaline in your system and it's like you're spinning and the time seems to slow down. Like, what were you
Hmm.
thinking besides, oh shit?
Pretty much that. I mean, I felt like I was looking out the window in slow motion,
Yeah,
going, well, this isn't gonna be good.
yeah. I've had that before, and you're going fast, but your whole thought process is really slow, and it reminds me of the movie Talladega Nights. We're going to cut to an Applebee's commercial.
Hmm.
That's the way it feels, right? It goes so slow, and you've got all this time to think, but boom, then you go fast, right? Wow.
Yep.
Sorry, it's just the way my brain thinks. But you are so lucky. Now, any insight into that as far as like w what happened? Like, obviously, you were saved. I mean,
Mm.
that's a thing that not too many people can claim to walk away from.
It's really not. And, you again, like as I look back on my childhood and growing up and the things that have happened, I'm like, wow, I've had like this battalion of angels surrounding me. Like, daddy's like, nope, you got to keep going. You got to keep
Yeah.
going. You got shit to do.
I'm seeing the angels in tatters, and they're like, "Oh, she's doing something else." They're like, "No,
I can
don't
guarantee
do
that
it."
they were probably thinking that a
Yeah,
lot
yeah, that's
in my
funny.
upbringing, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Okay, so what happened after that? Like, lead us forward to these stories. Like, to me, this is fascinating stuff.
Well,
I know it's your life, but
it's my life.
it shows us how you've been protected. Like, a lot of
It
times
does.
we don't believe the protection is real, the mission is real, that we're here for a bigger purpose. We don't believe it. Like, we're just going through life. We're starting to look at it and understand it more, you know?
We
And that's
we really are.
partially why I think we're doing this is to show people how we've been protected, we've been on a mission that we didn't even know about. We're awakening, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So, and we're not
Yes.
there yet. It's never ending. We're always going to be evolving. So it's just so interesting. Yeah.
It is very interesting.
Yeah.
One one of the other things, it is a little heavy. Um, but I was once again protected, this time from myself, and that was when I was around like 14 years old. I had run the gamut of depression and anxiety throughout my childhood, and I was constantly trying to escape into somewhere other than my living situation.
Okay.
And one at 14, it's like, how do you get out of this situation?
Yeah.
And in the adolescent mind, it's like, well, remove yourself.
Yeah.
So I did. I tried to completely remove myself from the entire planet. And I did that because I was depressed. I mean, I wanted out. And looking back now, I'm like, oh, wow, the amount of attacks that I was under, even as a child, were just incredible.
Yeah.
Um, However, busy road. We lived near a really busy road and it was dark out, but I was hanging out with some of my friends and I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm out. I don't want to do this anymore. So I started to walk down this little grassy hill towards the busy road, and cars typically sped through that road at least 10 over, if not 15 over. So I was like, be quick, we'll get it over with,
Yeah.
and we'll be done. And I was walking out onto this busy road. There was a car coming, and I got yanked back onto the sidewalk and hit the grass, and I was like, dang. And then that car was like as I was hitting the grass, the car was like,
Okay. And what yanked you back?
it was actually my friend that
Okay.
yanked me back. And I mean, she was pissed. And I don't blame her at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
I'd be pissed too.
So, you said you were depressed and all that. Do you think that you were maybe like being attacked? You had attachments or dark
Mhm.
energies attacking you in some case, making you think that this was a okay action to take. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, I didn't know it at the time, but with all the things that I've learned and the awakening that we've gone through, I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, they were really trying to get me.
Right. Because they knew what a powerful being you were or are,
Oh.
you know.
Oh.
So what happened after that?
So after that, I actually ended up in a stint in the mental hospital,
Ooh,
which looking back is it's like it had its good points and it had its bad points. I mean, the facilities themselves, they are not great. They
right,
really aren't.
right.
And when I got there, you could just feel the energy of all the people, like how heavy it was,
Yeah,
how dark it was,
yeah,
and it puts you in this state of fight or flight that feels amplified
yeah,
than just the typical fight or flight, almost to the point of where I felt like I was going to freeze up and
right.
just mosey through life.
I know when I go into certain places, let's say a hospital or institution or anywhere like that, you feel that heavy energy and it makes you, if you feel drained, then it doesn't feel your thought like your thoughts are present and you basically want to just sit there and go to sleep. That's like
Yeah.
it's all the attachments and attackers like draining your energy field. And that's really big there in something like a mental institution, I would think.
It really is
Yeah.
because you got to think about every single person that's in there
Yeah.
has those. And then you've got the staff members who are
Mhm.
those. So,
I
they're
agree.
doing everything that they can to just harness every little bit of energy out of everybody that's there.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was all kids too. All kids that ranged anywhere from about 12 to about 16, 17 years old.
Makes me so sad. How long were you there for?
So I was in inpatient for a couple months and then I had to do outpatient. So I was allowed to go home, but then I'd have to go back each day.
Okay. Okay. And
Yeah.
so you'd basically have to go through like a counseling session and all
Hmm.
that. And they had to make sure that you were, stable before you could go home, it sounds like.
Yep, they had to make sure that you're stable.
Yeah.
They do like to run the gamut of pumping you full of pills, right? To make you docile, to make you compliant, to, you know, apparently lift your mood, but not enough that you see what's really going on.
So you had all the drugs and all of that and they probably wanted you to stay longer than you did also, is my guess.
Yes, they did.
Yeah. So you had to really work hard to prove that you were stable.
I did.
You had to work extra hard.
Yep.
So you had said earlier that there were some good things that came out of it, and of course there were bad things. Can you tell us what the good things would be?
So, one of the good things that came out of it is that okay, don't laugh too much, y'all, but I got myself thrown in the padded room because
Whoa.
I had a little bit of an attitude while I was there because I didn't want to be there.
Did they put the straitjacket thing on you?
No, luckily I was not in a straitjacket. Thank you
Okay,
so much.
wow.
But it was a padded room, and in that room, it was like everything stopped. So all of the chatter and that feeling of just needles pricking you all over. I don't know if you've ever felt that, but when I'm around people that are pretty negative, like
Yeah,
it feels like I'm constantly being bombarded with like needles and knives and that
yeah,
sort of thing, but it all stopped in that moment. And it did give me a breath of clarity of how I did really want to be here.
yeah,
Like I wanted to continue. I wanted to learn why I've been put in these situations and I'm still here.
yeah.
So
So
it was like a bing.
so that experience taught you that you wanted to be here, that you
Yes.
wanted to live.
Yep.
Wow, that's powerful. All right, really important question. When you're in a padded room, where do you go to the bathroom?
Well, you knock on the door and you say, "I have to go to the potty, please."
What? Wow. Okay. And then you're escorted there, I assume.
Yes. You
Okay.
are escorted and they
Oh.
stand
And
guard of the door.
and what about food? Like when you like it's like solitary confinement, really? And
Yeah.
and you they take you to a little table that you sit all alone at so you can eat?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow. And how do they know when you're ready to get out of a padded room?
They put a time limit on it.
Oh,
So it's if your time limit is up and they open that door and you keep going for them, or you're like getting crazy and bouncing yourself off the walls and stuff, they will add time
oh,
to that
okay.
solitary
All right.
confinement. But otherwise it was just like a time limit. Like you're
Okay.
gonna be in here for the next 4 hours.
So when you were out with the other kids, like again, they've all got their mental things going
Yeah.
on, but they've got attackers, attachments, all sorts of drama going on energetically, and you
Hmm.
feel it as needles attacking you.
Yep. I do.
And so it was almost a relief to go in that room. And then you had your solitude, and then you decided, okay, I want to live, and I don't want to live here.
Yeah. Yeah, I did not want to live in the mental facility.
Sorry, it's not funny, but we can make anything funny though, can't we? So,
Yeah,
yeah.
we do have that tendency.
Yeah. So what else happened when you were there? Or I guess we'll say what's the next story? Like any other things that happened at that institution?
I'm not gonna go into some of the other things that
Okay.
happened there.
Okay.
However, I just know that it was a good thing that I did go there.
Okay.
I'm really seeing the change or more clarity. We'll say
Yeah.
more clarity in as to why daddy allows things to happen.
Okay. Well, several of the Jedi friends that I've interviewed have ended up in institutions like that. They've
Hmm.
had psychic or intuitive ability. They've been extremely sensitive, like I think you are, and their family usually puts them in there because they don't know what else to do with them, right? And it usually, is not a great experience. I mean, like, who would think it'd ever be a good experience? It's usually a horrible experience, but they make it through and then they're stronger and smarter. So that's another good thing that happened there is that you kind of clarified your intention, but now you're stronger and smarter, right?
Yeah, at least a little bit.
A little bit. Okay.
A
So
little
what
bit.
happened from there?
So from there, like I just tried to keep my head down, keep moving forward. However, when my kids started to become coming along,
Yeah.
one of the things that did happen, and I thought this was crazy. Now again, I was kind of a crazy kid with very strong opinions about the world around me. I did not like society. I don't feel like I felt in or fit in to it, and it was a very lonely
Yeah.
existence. And because of that, I made poor choices and people that I spent time around and that sort of thing. However, when my son was coming along, I actually knew he was a boy before I even knew I was pregnant.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did that come about? Like, how did you have that knowing?
So I was walking through the mall. You know when malls used to be malls, they weren't outside malls, but they were,
Yeah.
all the stores were inside and
Yeah.
it was cold out, so I was like, I'm just gonna go walk around the mall. It's warm in there, and all this stuff. And I'm going through this department store and I'm going through the baby section and I'm like, why am I even here? I think I was just trying to get through the store and I was cutting through stuff and then I stopped at this little baby plaid shirt that was a button up shirt. And I was like, I need to have that. And I mean it was like for a 3 to 6 month old, and I'm like, why would I even need this?
Yeah, that's interesting. So
Yep.
you just had a knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Wow. And
Yep.
and I wanted to back up a skosh. We had talked about, how you kept your head down and you didn't feel like you fit in. One of
Mm-hmm.
the things I wanted to say is after the mental institution, you probably had that stigma around you that, you go back to school, right? And then people
Yep.
are like leery of you or they make fun of you or whatever they do, right? So that
Yes.
probably didn't help any. Again, you have depression and you're upset and there's no support really there for you. So I'm really sorry about that. But
Well, I appreciate that.
yeah,
And yes, you are correct. There
yeah,
is a stigma that gets attached to you once
yeah,
you rejoin the general population
yeah.
of the high school kids.
You rejoin the herd. So you're walking through the department store. You're like, I've got to have this shirt. It's a little boy lumberjack's shirt, right?
Yes, it was
And you just
totally a
had a
lumberjack
knowing
shirt.
the baby would be a boy, but you weren't even pregnant at that time.
I was, though. I
Oh,
just
you,
didn't know it.
oh, how interesting is that?
Yep.
Yeah. So you've had lots of intuitive hits throughout your life already.
Yeah, I really have. I didn't know what they were,
Yeah.
and a lot of times I would push them away because I wasn't raised in a family that knew anything about intuition, or that I should say that talked about it. Looking back, I think my dad was very intuitive,
Yeah.
and he was trying to mask it with other things. Like he was trying to dim it down.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, see, back then, that's how we got the phrase conspiracy theorist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our peers keep us in line. So if you say I saw a UFO or I had this vision or I had this really vivid dream, people would make fun of you, right?
Yeah.
So we wouldn't tell those experiences, and over time they kind of go away and we forget about them, you know. So peer pressure is designed to keep us in line with the herd, right?
Yes. Stay
So
in your box.
so maybe you inherited your intuition or whatever from your dad a little bit.
Well, I think a little bit. And then my mom actually, as I got older, I started getting more curious about my family,
Yeah.
like my grandparents, my great grandparents, because I was lucky enough to meet my great grandparents on both my mom's side,
Whoa.
both of them on my mom's side. So, like my grandma's parents plus my grandpa's parents.
Wow.
I did get to meet them before they, passed on and all that stuff. And my great grandma, she would always tell us, she's like, I'm 3/4 Indian. And when I think I was probably like around 7, the last time I saw her. I have this picture of me standing next to her in the hospital bed that I absolutely adore because, she's got the gray hair and it's braided next to her, just like she would talk about. But I started asking my mom questions, and she was like, "Oh yeah, your great grandma, she was like medicine woman and all this
Ooh.
stuff." And I was like, "Oh, really?" Because I've always been very interested in the plants and how they can heal people naturally.
Wow. That is so interesting. So maybe you inherited a lot of that ability from her, you know.
It could be.
Yeah, so interesting. And it's so nice that you got to meet her, you know.
It
Mhm.
is.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. What else happened after the institution? Then you had your son. Anything
Hmm.
around that event, or where are we going next?
So I'll say that I noticed, like, I'm starting to notice all these things, right? And
Yeah.
I started to notice how much they attack my son and my daughters that I have now as well. Um, but also how protected we've all been for the longest time. And it really started to become more clear as I saw it happening with my own kids, and I was like, wow. And then the dots started to connect how that worked for me too. So there was this one time that my son was very little. I want to say he was around like 3. And I got him this little bike, and he was riding his little bike on the driveway. Now the driveway was at like a slant. So if you started at the top and you just went, you were gonna like fly across the street.
Right.
And it's not like it was a busy street, but it was, cars were up and
Yeah.
down pretty regularly. And he did just that.
Oh
He
no.
decided he was just gonna whoosh. And I'm like running after him because he's flying down the driveway, and I grab him as a car
Ah,
like this far.
no.
And then she gets out and starts yelling at me about how, you're such a terrible mom. How could you let your kid do that? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, lady. You came out of nowhere. Because from the top of the driveway, you can see all the way to the other end of the street. But I knew that I needed to grab him anyway.
Isn't that fabulous?
Yeah.
It's like when you are driving and you get the impulse to slow down and you're like, why? And you do. And then
Hmm.
there was a reason, right? That's happened to me a few times. That is a fabulous story. So you had that strong intuition. Well, and I'm just going to say it, most moms would run after their child anyway. Okay. Okay. Just saying that, but it seems like you had a strong intuition there because you could have said, I don't see any cars and kind
Hmm.
of like let it go, but you didn't.
Nope.
Yeah. Cool.
Definitely didn't. Even though I hadn't seen any cars.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, nope, too fast, man.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. So what happened after that we should know about?
Well, I think more and more that I was realizing these things that were happening. My dad passed suddenly in 2013, and it was like a huge point for me to really dive into the energy and the vibration and the soul and all of this. Like I always knew I had a soul.
Yeah.
That was never a question, and where I learned that, I couldn't tell you. It was just always known and always there. But I wanted to learn more. And so after my dad passed unexpectedly in 2013, I started diving into different modalities and different types of energy healing, past life regressions, um, how love is such a powerful frequency in the universe and all that good stuff. So I got certificates in these different healing modalities. I was well on my way. And then once again, it all like,
So you were learning about spirituality,
mhm,
energy healing, how energy works, how the body works with energy, that kind of stuff.
yep,
And maybe doing psychic readings or whatever like that, kind of the
yep.
whole gamut, it sounds like. Then what happened from there?
So that's exactly what I was doing as I
Yeah.
was doing the energy healings and Akashic record readings and that sort of thing. And then shortly after I'd moved from Colorado to Alabama, I started feeling like those needles again, those attacks. And I
Yeah.
was really pushing it off and pushing it away. And the more I did that, the more I was isolating myself from everything around me and
Right.
everybody around me. And it was very interesting because it was like I didn't want to be isolated, but the people that were around were very religious people. And I kind of, was like, well, in order to have people around me, I'm going to have to try to fit in again. And instead of listening to that little voice that was like, don't dim your light, don't make yourself fit in, I did the opposite and I tried to fit in with these people. And I went to church with them and I went to Bible study with them and I started asking a lot of questions and how can this be real if this is real? And I was starting to get like that. I was getting labeled by them,
Oh,
right? Like she's not like us. And it
Oh.
was a very small town, so everybody talked and everybody knew. And
So what was their issue that you weren't like that? Like you were there at their groups and all that, and you were asking
mm,
questions? That's
yep.
not wrong, is it?
Well, because I would essentially, they felt like I was putting out that energy like you are wrong. Like me telling them that they're wrong with me more just asking questions
Ah,
and asking for more clarifications and asking, well, how does that work?
yeah.
And those sorts of things. And there was a couple that was there that really appreciated all of those questions and that deep diving into it, but the majority of them weren't necessarily all that grateful towards me for that because it was shedding the light on the propaganda,
Ah,
right?
ah. Yeah, so they just blindly followed whatever the pastor or whatever minister, whoever the leader was, whatever they
Mhm.
said without thinking more about the story or how could this be true or whatever, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And you were asking, wait, how can this be true? Or why this or why that? They probably didn't have answers. They don't have answers, okay? But
Yep.
then they started to ostracize you a little bit, or like kind of like, oh, there she is. She's the troublemaker, right?
Mm-hmm. Which did eventually lead to me not going to
Yeah.
church anymore.
So that was a good thing.
Yes. Yes.
Well, sometimes the value of a church is you have a community, you're
Hmm.
you're joined together to help other people, and that's truly what's there. But the ones I've ever been to seem like they're more controlling. They want you to believe what they say without any proof, without any whatever. And yeah, you can't question it. And then give us some money, right? And if you drive around the country, right, what are the two institutions that are building and expanding? All right. Or maybe three: banks,
Hmm.
churches, and
Hmm.
drugstores. Okay.
Yep.
All the other people are suffering and they can't pay for their rent or their
Oh
land
my gosh. I
except for those
know.
places. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know. Well, one of the big things that really got me going to this church
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
I actually joined the choir for a little bit.
Oh,
I don't and I do love to sing, and I
yeah.
always say, like, I don't think I'm that great at it, but I love it. So I
Ooh.
did join the choir for a little bit,
Yeah.
and we were standing, like, all of us that were in it were standing, waiting to go out there and everything, and I started hearing, like, they were younger women that were talking about how, oh, there's those new agey people they do that energy healing stuff. And they were like laughing and they're like, that stuff isn't real. And I started laughing under my breath because it was like, they have no idea.
Yeah.
They have no idea.
Yeah. Well, and again, hey, a lot of times, you could blast energy at them all day long and they're not going to feel it either, right?
Hmm.
Because they're very dense energy and they're not energy sensitive. And of course, there's a whole belief system issue going there. But yeah, it's so you definitely didn't fit in there.
Not
But
really.
yeah.
not,
So
not really. Not at all.
So you had told me that you gave that little, like, we'll call it side business or learning, you were learning all this and working to help others. You kind of gave that up for a while. Is that true?
That is true. I
Yeah.
did. I shut it all down. I want to say it was towards the end of like 2022.
Uh-huh.
And it started as this really beautiful thing that in turn led to me shutting it all down. Okay, so I'd been doing it for a couple years. And I had a couple friends come out to the property in Alabama because we had some land and we were kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
Hmm.
So it's a really good place to get connected in because you could really get out into nature. And so they came out to spend a few days. with us, and we were doing this, we were doing like this bonfire, like
Yeah.
little drum circle together, just the three of us.
Yeah.
And we're out there, and I'm like playing the drum, and we're meditating, and I felt like I was going somewhere. I'm sure Smarty might know.
Yeah. Yeah. You
But
probably would.
somewhere.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like I see it looks like the back of a spaceship just opened up in front of me. Okay. And there's these line of people, and they're like rainbow people standing there. And I'm like, whoa, what is going on? And they're like, it's almost time. And
Ooh.
I'm like, what? What is happening? And I was starting to get dizzy. I don't know about any of the other Jedis, but if you've ever gotten too stoned and you're just like, ugh, like that's what the energy felt like because it
Okay.
was so overpowering
Wow. Yeah.
where
Yeah.
you feel like you're dizzy and like you're gonna fall over because you feel like you don't weigh anything. And so like I kind of went woof, and then it dissipated. And when I'm still somehow still playing this drum in rhythm through this entire thing, and I stopped when I came back in, like I stopped playing. And then that's when we heard this snarl coming from the backwoods behind us. And it did not sound like a normal earthly creature at all. It was very ethereal. It was very low. And I was like, oof, I don't know what that is. And I look over there and there's these eyes looking out to the trees, like glowing. And I'm like, I'm out. And all of us booked it back inside.
Oh, so, how tall up were the eyes, like from the ground?
I would say they were at least 5 feet off the ground.
So, like a human-sized creature,
Yeah.
or maybe bigger even.
Yeah. And
Wow.
you know
Okay.
me, I'm trying to tell myself, oh, it's just like a bobcat, like standing up on its hind legs or
Yeah.
something. It's leaning up against that tree over there.
So basically, you're out there drumming, which for those that don't know, drumming like that puts you in a really deep meditative
Mm,
state. It's actually quite fun too. So
it
you're
is.
in a meditative state. You see like a UFO land, rainbow people
Mm-hmm.
that say to you, it's almost time.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you come back in your body, they leave, and then you hear a snarl out in the woods with the eyes.
I'm not sure they left.
Ah, okay. These rainbow people, what did they look like? Do you have like, could you see them individually, or did you just have a knowing? Like, can you describe them a little more?
So they were kind of more silhouettes. Like the light was coming from behind them,
Yeah.
so they looked very silhouetted.
Yeah.
But the clothing that they were wearing was like iridescent and it was sparkling. So
Ooh.
you're getting like Smarty likes to say bling bling,
Yeah.
right? Like it did. It looked very sparkly
Yeah.
wear, but it was flowing. It wasn't like a spacesuit that we would think of, right? Like in, like Avenger spacesuits or anything like that. It was
Yeah.
very flowy. They
Okay.
seemed like they were very diplomatic or royal. Some sense of that was going on.
Mhm. If you were to tune in now, just saying if, okay, could you tune in and see if you know any of them, like either in this lifetime here on Earth or on, we'll call it the other side. Whenever I say other side, I kind of mean the other side of this. When all is going to be revealed, like hopefully very soon, Daddy. Yeah, yeah,
The other side of this,
yeah,
whatever this is.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You feel like you knew them?
Yeah, I did
So,
because
so
I actually got a little like emotional, a little sad because I wanted to go with them.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to leave with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm getting at is were they your family and friends or in support, like your crew, your support, you know what I mean?
It
Wow.
very much felt like it,
Yeah.
especially with like the sadness that came in of not being able to go with them.
All right. And now this creature in the woods, if you were to make a guess, all right, just a couple questions. Malevolent or benevolent, like good or bad?
Malevolent.
So he or it was watching you.
Mhm.
Do you have a sense of what the creature was and what their intent was?
So my first ping on it when I started thinking about it was that it was a skinwalker.
Hmm.
And those weren't really talked about a whole lot
Right.
until I would say probably more recently.
Yeah.
They've been talked about more about
Yeah.
what they are. One, because, the natives and indigenous, they were pretty hush hush about the skinwalkers, but I had heard about them when I was little
Yeah. Yeah.
from various
Okay.
sources.
So it knew you were there and it was watching you and just seeing, it was probably drawn to your energy, is my guess. It was
Mhm.
watching you and just, I don't know what it would have done, but not cool.
That one I don't even want to know.
Yeah. Yeah. Just go away. Okay.
We'll just.
Yeah. So you kind of gave up that little business that you had in healing
Yep.
after this event. Why is it that you felt drawn to give that up?
So it was very shortly after this event, and I was still doing my Akashic Records readings and healings. I was doing group meditations
Yeah.
for others, like I was guiding group meditations and for healing. And one day, and it really feels like it came out of nowhere, but one day I was feeling like I've been searching for Jesus my entire life and I still can't find him. Now, I will say that with, my healings and that sort of thing, I was always calling in source.
Yeah.
I know some people like do
Yeah.
something else, but mine
Yeah.
was always like we're connecting with source, right?
Okay.
And I was starting to get angry about the whole situation, about where I was located, about things that had happened to me in the past, about all kinds of things that were like really bubbling up to the surface.
Yeah.
And I broke down on my knees and I cried out to Daddy and Jesus. And then as soon as I got up and I was done bawling my eyes out, I was like, I'm done. And I shut it all down
Wow.
because I just wanted to know who Jesus was.
And then what happened?
And then what happened is,
Ooh.
I would say less than 30 days later, I found Smarty.
And how did that come about?
That it's very interesting how that came about because it was
Mhm.
so roundabout way.
Yeah,
It
of
really
course.
was.
Yeah.
Because I was doing the meditating. I'm like, I'm gonna find Jesus. I'm meditating. I'm like, woosah. And my husband had sent me a text message and he's like, hey, so and so at his work, his coworker sent me this. If you want to look into it, look into it. And it was about crypto. And I'm like, okay, like I'll look, whatever. He seems interested. He likes what this guy's saying. Let's see what it's about. So I look into this from the website that this coworker had sent my husband, that he had sent me, and I'm trying to get the information in, and I come across this video on this website, and I couldn't even tell you what the website is anymore,
Mhm.
but it was a video of Smarty, and he was talking to somebody else, and he was talking about like crypto and finance type stuff. And I'm like, who is this guy? Like, there's something about this guy. Like, who is this guy? And in that video, he turns and he looks straight at the camera, and it was like he looked right into my soul, and it was like, follow me, follow me. And that was pretty intense. That was pretty crazy because now I'm over here going, what just happened? totally forgot about all the crypto stuff that I was gonna look into. Whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
So I went and I started looking for, this Smarty guy, and I found all the Jedi training videos. I found the real truth calls, and then I was listening to those like every chance that I got. I would listen to them in my car while I was driving. I'd be listening to them while I was doing my artwork and my paintings at home, and so yeah,
Wow.
here we are.
So cool. Um, that is very interesting. So it's interesting because, again, it was a random
Yeah,
experience, and look where you are
random.
now because of one little thing that happened. I want to back up just a skosh, though. Okay. The other day, you and I were having a conversation about you coming to Florida, where you now live. You came from
Yes,
Colorado, and you had
yes.
a very strong calling, like,
Hmm.
and you didn't really follow it. So, can you give us the overview of that when you didn't follow your intuition and had a huge Jonah moment?
Oh yes, the Jonah moment. Oh my gosh, Sue.
Sorry, I think it's important because we're talking about intuition and
Okay.
awakening, and you really had a big one, and it was
Yes.
so big you moved across the country, right?
Yes.
I
Yes.
mean, an expensive prospect, you're leaving your family, everybody thinks you're crazy, right? So tell us about
Yes.
what happened.
Okay, so what happened was it was about the summer of 2020, COVID starting all this
Yep.
stuff. That was stuff that, we kind of watched the hysteria, but we also went like, what's the big deal?
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
why would anybody get this jabby jab?
Yep.
That sort of talk. But we were having this conversation. We were sitting on the front porch, and all of a sudden it was like, we need to move. And by the way, we had only been in our house for a year, maybe less than a year. And we had this house built. So, like,
Ooh.
I watched this house being built from the ground up and had all the features that I wanted and all the little things.
Yep.
And then it was like, you need to go. You need to go. It's time to move. You got to go. And oh man. So, my husband was not on board when that message first came through.
Right.
And it took about a year of like that message kind of coming up again every so often and us chatting about it and going over the pros and the cons and what this would mean and all that other stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that original, like, we gotta go, it was Florida. We gotta go to Florida. And it was very interesting that that came up. Now, part of the reason that that came up is my husband had actually lived in Florida when he was younger,
Right.
because his dad was in the military and they moved around a lot. So he had lived in Florida prior.
Right.
So that was kind of like, oh yeah, like we could totally do that. And it took about a year for us to come to terms with, yes, we're going to sell this house. Yes, we're going to move. Here we go. And before listing, we were looking at houses in Florida.
Yep.
And we were seeing the price of insurance, and we were seeing the price of the taxes, and we were seeing how small the houses were for the price, and all these things. And we're like, well, we have a really big family, we need plenty of room, we can get a cheaper house with lots of land in Alabama that's bigger and cheaper with more land. So we ended up in southern Alabama. It was roughly 2.5, 3 hours from Destin. So it wasn't that far. I was like, yeah, I can still go to the beach. Not that Destin was in my head at that point yet, but it was like, I can go to the beach. I can go to the beach.
And this was prior to you knowing about King Smarty being in Destin. Like you didn't even
Yes.
know who he was at this point. Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right.
Yep. And we moved to Alabama in November of 21.
Okay.
And I do believe Smarty moved to Destin in 21.
think it was like September-ish. Yeah,
Yeah,
September 21st, I think, but I'm not around then. Yes.
around then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So obviously, I was supposed to be in Florida. Now I'm in Alabama, and I had all the trouble with the community. I had an incident happen with my daughter that I am not going to go into details about, but it was traumatic for me. It was traumatic for her dad. It was traumatic for her. And I can say that the CPS system is absolutely awful. And they did turn on us. So, like, it
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. So basically, to I wanted to make the point. You were told in 2020, move to
Mhm.
Florida. No, move, move. You talk
Yep.
it over with your husband. He's like, no. So you waited, you bring it up occasionally when you get the
Mhm.
intuitive hit, and you're both like, no, no. And then finally you start to look around and you're like, whoa, it's expensive in Florida. So you
Mhm.
move to Alabama to save money and you think, well, it's pretty close, but it wasn't where
Yep.
you were supposed to be. So you
Nope.
have an incident. And then you have
Mhm.
these weird church people and the weird small town weirdness because you don't fit in,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
And then what happened? Like, what happened next?
Okay, so shortly after, huh? Was it after? Yeah, it was shortly after found Smarty, and I started talking to you, and you know,
Don't
we
put
were
this on
having our
me.
fun. I'm not putting it on you.
I'm just
We were
teasing.
having our fun, but then once again, it was like, you gotta go.
Yeah,
You gotta move. You gotta get out of here. You gotta move. You gotta
yeah,
move. You gotta move.
yeah,
And once again, it took about a year
yeah,
of me talking to my husband in order for to make that
yeah.
happen. And we came down to Florida. Now we're not in Destin, but we are in Florida. And we are where we're supposed to be right now, which is very good. And things have taken off for
Awesome.
sure.
Awesome. So I obviously know some of the story since I've been talking with you. I'm going to say about 4 years, three. I don't know how long
Yeah.
it's been, but we have been working on projects together for a few years and we've developed a great friendship. And so I know some of the stories, but it wasn't until 2 days, 3 days ago that you told me really about this whole move from Colorado to Florida. And I have seen the pictures of your house back there. It was gorgeous. It was gorgeous. And your house in Alabama was also gorgeous. But, again, your family must have thought you were a little bit crazy to give that up to move to Alabama where you have no support system,
Mm-hmm.
right? And now,
Yep.
and then you've moved again, and they probably think you guys are like, why are you doing this? But you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So now that you're here in Florida, you've been here maybe 2 years.
2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's happened since then? Like, what is your feel for why you were supposed to be there?
Well, I do feel like I was supposed to be able to help Smarty more with and be a support system, but
Yeah.
also one for you too, because with the graphics that I'm doing, which I love art, I always have since I was very little.
Yeah.
It gets me into like this meditative state. I get very connected with daddy, and beautiful things come through when I get to do my art,
Yeah.
and I love it.
Yeah.
So like the graphics, for you and for Smarty and for John Jr. and for some of the other people that I've done
Right.
graphics for,
Right. Yeah.
it's a big deal.
So we should maybe back up and talk about how you were artistic in your childhood and you would turn to art for comfort and
Mhm.
that was one of your activities. You also love being outside in nature a lot, right?
Mhm.
You really have a beautiful setting right now. But and then you got a degree in graphic design, was it?
Yes.
All right.
Graphic design and multimedia.
All right.
Yep.
All right. So, like, just for people to know that, but what are you doing now that you want people to know about?
So what I'm doing now, and the biggest thing I want people to know about is that I am going back to doing those meditations for people because,
Yeah,
I know how healing they are. I've done them for others, I've done them for myself, and sometimes we just need that little helping hand, somebody to hold our hand through it
yeah,
because it's easier when we have that support system.
yeah.
So with the art, I get to do the websites, I get to do the logos, I get to do, marketing materials and product packaging and
Right,
there's kind of a gamut of what I can do.
right.
And then there's that meditation piece because that art it really does it pulls daddy in to me.
Yeah,
When I'm doing that and then that you can feel it when it comes out.
right, right. So, for those that don't know, Kimberly's very intuitive and very sensitive to energy, right? And she's very in tune. So, when she does the artwork, it does come out as a beautiful piece of artwork. And whether it's, done by hand or on the computer, but beautiful work. So, she has a business called Source. The website is sourceofloveofficial.com.
Mhm.
And in there, you'll find free downloads for several meditations
Yep.
and samples of her graphic work. So, for example, for me, she's designed several logos. Like she's pretty much on speed dial. Like, okay, I need. But she's designed several websites for several of the Jedis and the projects that we're working on, flyers, posters, graphics, beautiful work. And you'll be doing more of that as time goes on. But you're
Yes.
also kind of starting up doing the meditations and the healing and the energy work for other people as well,
Mhm.
right?
Yep. Well, ever since I found Smarty, I did get
Yeah,
back into my energy healing work,
yeah,
and that I'm very grateful for because
yeah,
when I shut all that down, I felt so empty
yeah,
because I had also shut down that part that was trying to flow through me, right?
yeah,
I was constraining myself and making myself small and dimming my light so far down there and then trying to get it back out it was a challenge.
yeah,
It
yeah,
took a lot.
yeah.
It did.
It's hard to come out. And again, I think in general, you're a private person to start with,
Yep.
but because of like all the unusual incidents you've had in your life, you like to keep like a bubble of protection. You want to keep kind of quiet and in the background so no one really notices you too much, right? And you
Yeah,
do,
I'm like, I'm trying to not call attention to myself,
yeah, yeah,
because like I don't want to be calling in the wrong
yeah.
people.
So I gotta assume doing an interview like this is a little bit hard for you, like, but you're doing great. You're doing great.
Thank you. Yeah,
But
it's a
what
little tough.
what I wanted to show by doing this interview is that the intuition has always been present in your life. So you've
Mhm.
shown us maybe, I don't know, let's say 5 or 6 examples where even as a little kid, that intuition saved you. You're being protected, you're being guided, and you followed it most of the times. And you've had some unusual things happen, but it's
Mhm.
all a learning. It's part of the stepping stone to the next process, right? You've been growing and learning so rapidly lately. It's great. It's great to watch. Yeah. So,
Awesome.
and I mean, we're all there. Like, we weren't the same person we were even 6 months ago, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that is very true.
Yeah. And I have I've downloaded some of these meditations that are on her website, and they are excellent. They're free 99, right?
3.99.
They're very powerful. And so you have maybe 4 or 5 out there right now. And
I think only 3 are actually
oh,
showing
okay.
right
Okay.
now, but yeah.
Okay. And I'd like to do a show and tell video to follow up on this one because you've got some really exciting things coming out in the near future. So maybe we could talk again in a few days and do show and tell for the audience because we want to talk about some of the things that you've got cooking, you know?
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm. But
Yes, that sounds lovely.
but as a, friend and, fellow Jedi, I'm just going to say that you are very powerful. Your healings are powerful. Your meditations are fabulous, extremely strong, and very, very healing. So, if anyone has any doubt, I'm going to be putting out a testimony. Right, the meditations are worth the time. They're so fabulous. So, thank you for doing them.
Thank you. And
Right.
thank you to Daddy for being the
Yeah.
one that
Yeah.
comes through me to do those.
Yeah. So he guided you basically which ones to do, which ones to put
Yep.
out there, how to do them. Oh, you've got to redo this because of this or that, right?
Yep.
So it's been a process. And we've worked together on many of King Smarty's projects. So we
Mhm.
talk almost every day. Website,
Almost.
flyers, did you do this? Blah, 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 blah. And we're working as a team to help with the projects that are I'm going to say a lot of the things are in foundational stages where we've kind of gotten the structure together. And then once the funding comes through, we'll be working, we'll have more people to help us, which will be
Mm.
amazing, but we'll be working hard and
Yes.
fast then, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's gonna be so amazing.
I
No, it
know.
is so
It is
amazing.
so amazing. Now, are there any other like personal stories, things that you can recall, or things that you want to talk about that show about, your intuition, your abilities, that sort of thing? Anything else you want to tell the audience?
I think I would just like to tell everybody not to dim their light for others.
Mm,
No matter, the thoughts that
mm,
you may have around it, because it's certainly not worth it. And
mm,
Daddy's got a plan for you, a mission, your source directives, God's plan. So
mm.
just trust him and don't dim your light for anybody.
Right, right. It's important to know that because, especially being female, a lot of times
Mm.
like we're taught this in school if we're a bit faster runner or if we know that we're smarter than the boys or there's a bigger piece of food on the table, we're supposed to let the boys have that, right? We're taught
Hmm.
that subconsciously even the boys should go before the girls, right? Don't dim your light. Be all you can be and you're going to move along your spiritual path much quicker, right?
Yep, you really are.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to say today?
No,
You did amazing. I'm so glad to know you as a friend and coworker, and I thank you for your time so much.
thank you, Sue. I love having you as my friend and coworker.
Ah!
You are wonderful.
Oh,
Just
thank
an
you.
amazing being.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I appreciate your time in doing this because I know it wasn't easy. I've been trying to get you to do this for like maybe 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
It's
you
all
really
good.
have been.
It's
Yep.
all good.
But now it's like, now Daddy's the one that's like, get out there,
Yeah.
get out there.
Yeah.
So
He kind of kicked you in the butt to do this, right? He was
he
like,
did.
you
Yes.
got to do this video. And it's practice. Well, here's the thing. People, you're going to be at the expo in August, right?
Yep.
Walking around, meeting people, healing people, doing whatever.
Hmm.
You're going to have some of your products there at the expo, but it's a good way for you to get out there and meet people and they'll know who you are. But I'm sure it's a stepping stone for the next part of the plan, which we don't know. Like, look
Yep.
at how you were guided to come to this area in 2021, right?
Yeah.
I think that's when it was. I'm here, King Smarty's here. It's weird how not it's not weird, but it's it's weird how we've had the calling to do certain things, right?
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. And mine to do like awakened stories. Like I was heavily pushed to
Hmm.
do it. It's not like I sat there and said, "What can I do?" Well, I kind of might have done that a little bit, but I was heavily pushed to do first the website that I did on my own, which was not the best ever. and then the videos, and they're morphing and changing, and we're preparing for what's to come.
That we are. And it's
Fabulous. Fabulous.
absolutely amazing
Yep.
what is happening.
Only good things happening, guys. So thank you
Only good
so,
things.
so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank
All right.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.